Hi, before we find out what happens next, make sure to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. It takes a second and really help us grow. Out of the story.
Most families celebrate when their kids chase big dreams. Mine didn't. My stepmother wrote her daughter an $8 million check and told me survival would make me stronger. What none of them knew was that the family's black sheep had been keeping score all along. $8 million, Margaret Kane announces, sliding the check toward Scarlett with regal satisfaction. For your lifestyle brand expansion, you've earned this, sweetheart. I watch my stepsister's manicured fingers close around what could have funded my AI startup for 5 years. Scarlett beams with Instagram-perfect confidence. What about Victoria's company? Christina Camp asks from beside me, voice neutral but eyes flashing indignation. Margaret's smile turns crystalline. Victoria needs to learn bootstrapping. Real entrepreneurs don't rely on family handouts. The irony burns. Real entrepreneurs like me, who've spent 2 years building neural networks while Scarlett poses with handbags for social media. Real entrepreneurs like me, who graduated summa cum laude from Stanford Computer Science while Scarlett dropped out of USC Communications. My father, James, studies his wine glass like it contains universal secrets. 17 years of marriage to Margaret have taught him that silence is safer than supporting his first wife's daughter. Dad? I venture, hoping for acknowledgement of the inequity. He looks up briefly, eyes darting away. Your stepmother makes valid points about self-reliance, Victoria. Self-reliance, from the man who gave Margaret controlling interest in Kane Ventures within 6 months of marriage. Vicky's always been the serious one, Scarlett says with theatrical sympathy, using the nickname she knows I hate. Maybe struggling will teach her that not everything can be solved with coding. Coding, she says it like it's a hobby instead of the skill set revolutionizing healthcare AI. My company has processed 100,000 diagnostic images with 97% accuracy, I say. We're 3 months from FDA approval. How nice, Margaret replies with weather-discussing tone. Scarlett's brand has 3 million followers and luxury partnerships. That's proven market validation. I feel Christina's supportive hand on my shoulder. Mrs. Kane, Christina says with MBA precision, Victoria's technology could save thousands of lives through early cancer detection. Scarlett's brand sells overpriced moisturizer. Silence sharp enough to cut glass follows. Margaret's expression turns ice cold. I think it's time for you to leave, Christina. Christina, I correct automatically, knowing it's futile. Margaret has mispronounced my best friend's name for 6 years. Christina needs to understand that family discussions are private matters. She is family. More family than what, Victoria? Margaret's voice carries years of warning. More family than you'll ever be. But I don't say it. 17 years of being the unwanted stepdaughter have taught me that honesty brings consequences. Nothing, I mumble, hating the capitulation. Margaret's smile returns, victorious. Good. Now, Scarlett, let's discuss expansion plans. As they launch into excited chatter about influencer marketing, I stare at where my dreams just died. $8 million. Enough to scale our platform, hire engineers, accelerate trials. Instead, it's funding whatever Scarlett's calling her business this month. My phone buzzes. Samuel Kane's will reading scheduled tomorrow 2 p.m. Your presence required. Uncle Samuel. Dad's black sheep brother, who supposedly wasted his life on computer nonsense instead of joining the family investment business. Dead at 45 from working too hard on meaningless technology, Margaret had said when news arrived last week. I'd been the only family member at his funeral. The only one who remembered him sending programming books every Christmas. Tomorrow, I'll hear his final words to a family that never understood him. Tonight, I'll figure out how to save my startup with empty pockets and a stepmother whose priorities are crystal clear. Scarlett gets millions. I get lectures about bootstrapping. Some things never change in the Kane family hierarchy. 17 years ago, I was 8 and still believed my father loved me more than anything. That was before Margaret Kane walked into our lives with business suits, calculated smiles, and her beautiful daughter, who instantly became our universe's center. Victoria, meet your new mother, Dad had said nervously. And this is Scarlett. She's going to be your sister. I'd stared at 10-year-old Scarlett, with golden hair and perfect clothes, then at Margaret's cold assessment of our modest San Jose home. "How quaint," Margaret had said. "James, we'll need changes." Changes started immediately. Our family photos disappeared, replaced by professional portraits featuring Margaret and Scarlett prominently, while I was positioned as afterthought. My mother's piano was sold for Margaret's modern furniture. My mother's garden was paved for a tennis court only Scarlett used. "Victoria needs to learn to share," became Margaret's constant refrain. Dad enabled every transformation with desperate enthusiasm of a man terrified of losing love again. When Margaret complained I was too needy for bedtime hugs, he started keeping distance. When she suggested family dinners should focus on positive energy instead of my school struggles, my achievements stopped being discussion topics. By middle school, hierarchy was established. Scarlett's dance recitals and social events were family priorities. My academic achievements and programming projects met polite disinterest. High school crystallized the pattern. Scarlett got a BMW for her 16th birthday. I got lectures about public transportation building character. Scarlett got European fashion vacations. I got coding camps I funded through part-time jobs. Different children need different support, Margaret explained when I asked Dad about disparity. Uncle Samuel was the only family member who saw through the performance. During rare visits, he'd ask about programming projects with genuine interest. "You've got your grandmother's systems thinking," he told me during one Christmas. "Don't let them convince you that practical intelligence is less valuable than popularity." "Samuel, please don't fill Victoria's head with unrealistic expectations," Margaret interrupted. "Not everyone can make money with computers." Uncle Samuel's expression hardened. "Margaret, you have no idea what I've accomplished with computers. Your hobbies are very nice." He'd left early and barely spoke to Margaret afterward. Stanford acceptance should have been family celebration. Instead, Margaret focused on Scarlett's USC communications acceptance. "Both girls getting into university," she announced, though Victoria's chosen such a technical field. Scarlett's studying something more practical. Graduating summa cum laude from Stanford should have earned pride. Instead, it coincided with Scarlett's first 1 million Instagram followers. "Look how well both girls are doing," Margaret would tell people. Scarlett's building a real business with social media, and Victoria's coding. I'd spent 17 years trying to earn my place in a family that had decided I didn't belong. Margaret never intended to accept me as true daughter. Dad chose his new family over his first daughter years ago. Uncle Samuel understood family outcast dismissal. Maybe that's why he stayed in touch, sent programming books, attended my Stanford graduation when my parents were too busy with Scarlett's influencer events. Maybe tomorrow's will reading will reveal that someone in this family valued what I've accomplished, even someone they considered a failure until his death. 4 years ago, I walked into Stanford's computer science building with desperate hunger of someone who'd watched every achievement get overshadowed by her stepsister's social media milestones. Professor Janet Liu's AI course changed everything. Machine learning isn't just data processing, it's pattern recognition that saves lives and transforms industries. I thought about Margaret's dismissive Victoria's coding comments and felt something ignite. This wasn't just coding. This was building the future. Christina Camp sat beside me, furiously taking notes. We bonded over late-night coding sessions, debugging neural networks while other students partied. "What's your family think about CS?" she asked during one 3 a.m. coffee break. "They think it's a hobby. My stepmother acts like I'm majoring in basket weaving." Christina's expression darkened. "My parents are engineers. They can't understand why anyone wouldn't support their kid in tech." That conversation sparked friendship that reshaped my understanding of family support. Christina's parents attended my presentations, celebrated my Google internship, asked detailed questions about research. Everything my family never did. My thesis focused on medical imaging AI, teaching computers to detect early-stage cancers human radiologists missed. Professor Liu called it groundbreaking work with immediate applications. Neither James nor Margaret attended my presentation. They were at Scarlett's influencer brand launch in Los Angeles. "Sorry, sweetheart," Dad texted. "Margaret thinks this networking could be crucial for Scarlett's business." But Dr. Patricia Williams from UCSF was in my audience. Miss Kane, this technology could revolutionize early detection protocols. Have you considered commercial applications? That launched Synergy AI, the startup I co-founded with Christina after graduation. We bootstrapped everything: incorporation fees from my Google savings, office space in Christina's garage, equipment on credit cards. You should ask your family for investment, Christina suggested during our first month of 18-hour development days. I laughed bitterly. They invest in proven markets like lifestyle brands, not risky technology built by daughters they've never taken seriously. But I tried anyway. That first pitch meeting remains one of my most humiliating experiences. Victoria, dear, Margaret had begun, reviewing our business plan skeptically. This seems very theoretical. Because diagnostic errors kill 40,000 Americans annually, I'd replied. Our technology reduces false negatives by 23%. That's nice, but Scarlett's cosmetics line has demonstrated actual consumer demand. 3 million followers purchasing monthly. That's proven validation. We'd left empty-handed but not empty-hearted. Christina's parents immediately offered to co-sign a business loan. Innovation requires investment, Dr. Camp said simply. That loan funded our first year. 18 months later, we had a prototype outperforming human radiologists. 24 months later, preliminary FDA approval and medical center interest. But scaling required serious capital, the kind Kane Ventures regularly made in companies with far less potential. Yesterday's dining room wasn't my first family rejection. It was culmination of a pattern stretching back 17 years, the Kane family investing in everything except Victoria's dreams. Uncle Samuel's funeral had been sparsely attended, just me, work colleagues, and surprising numbers of tech executives who'd flown in from Seattle, Austin, Silicon Valley. Samuel was a visionary, one CEO told me. His early cloud infrastructure work enabled half the platforms we use today. He talked about you often, another executive said. Said you were the only family member who understood technology isn't about replacing human connection. It's about enhancing potential. Maybe Uncle Samuel found ways to support dreams the family had spent years crushing. Maybe the black sheep had become the shepherd after all. 2 weeks before Uncle Samuel's death, Margaret orchestrated my most public adult humiliation at the Silicon Valley Entrepreneurs Gala, exactly the audience I needed to notice Synergy AI. Both my daughters will be presenting tonight, Margaret announced, to venture capitalists and tech executives. Scarlett's launching her Series B round, and Victoria is working on something with computers. At a tech industry gala. Scarlett's presentation came first, delivered on main stage with professional lighting and massive marketing budget. She discussed her revolutionary lifestyle commerce approach with polished confidence. ScarCo represents influencer marketing's future, she told tech leaders. We're selling aspiration, connection, and personal transformation. Personal transformation through overpriced skincare. Revolutionary. Applause was polite, but lukewarm. Tech executives understand business models, and Scarlett's was fundamentally marketing existing products to followers. My presentation was scheduled for the smaller innovation showcase, positioned as promising early stage rather than featured startup. But I delivered the presentation of my life. 20 minutes, explaining how Synergy AI's neural networks detected cancers human radiologists missed, supported by clinical data showing 97% accuracy and 23% false negative reduction. This technology could save 40,000 lives annually, I concluded. We're not just building business, we're building medical revolution. The smaller audience was more engaged. Radiologists, medical device executives, healthcare VCs asked detailed technical questions. Dr. Janet Martinez from Stanford Medical approached afterward. This is exactly what could transform diagnostic medicine. Have you secured Series A funding? We're currently raising our first institutional round, I replied diplomatically. 3 more potential customers requested follow-ups. Real healthcare organizations with real budgets for technology that saved lives. But Margaret's reaction wiped away satisfaction. Victoria, dear, that was very technical, she said. Perhaps too complex for the audience? They seemed engaged. They were being polite. Tech people are good at pretending to understand things they don't. The real blow came during networking, when Margaret introduced me with devastating efficiency. "This is my stepdaughter Victoria," she'd say, emphasis on step. "She's working on something medical with artificial intelligence. Very academic. Scarlett's company is much more market-ready." By evening's end, I'd watched Margaret redirect every conversation about my work toward Scarlett's proven business model. "Your stepmother spent 3 hours undermining your credibility in front of exactly the investors you need," Christina said afterward, furious. That night, I'd called Dad to discuss Margaret's behavior. "Your stepmother was trying to help both of you," he'd said with reflexive defensiveness. "Help how? By introducing me as her stepdaughter to every investor? By redirecting conversations about FDA-approved technology toward Instagram metrics? Victoria, you're being unfair. Margaret has always supported both girls." Even Dad couldn't call me his daughter when defending Margaret. Uncle Samuel's death had interrupted my spiral about family relationships. The funeral, his colleagues' surprise at my attendance, their stories about his hidden tech success. "Samuel never stopped talking about your AI work," one founder told me. "Said you were building something that could change diagnostic medicine forever." Maybe validation would come from the family member they'd least expected to succeed. 3 months after the gala humiliation, I scheduled one final Kane Ventures meeting to pitch Synergy AI's Series A round. Clinical trials were complete, FDA approval finalized, 3 major medical centers had signed pilot program letters. "We have everything you said we needed," I told Margaret and James. "Regulatory approval, proven demand, validated technology, clear profitability path. Conservative projections showed $50 million revenue within 3 years." "Very impressive, Victoria," Margaret said, reviewing materials with detached professionalism. "Though I have concerns about market saturation and competitive differentiation." Market saturation. In a field where diagnostic errors killed 40,000 Americans annually. "We're the only FDA-approved AI platform integrating with existing hospital systems," Christina explained. "Our advantage is regulatory approval plus seamless implementation." That's nice, but Scarlett's lifestyle brand operates in established markets with proven consumer behaviors. People understand beauty products. They don't understand artificial intelligence. James remained silent throughout, studying projections with distant expression. "Dad, what do you think about our market opportunity?" "Your stepmother raises valid concerns about market complexity," he replied without meeting my eyes. "Healthcare technology faces significant regulatory hurdles we'd already cleared. James, we have signed contracts with UCSF, Stanford Medical, and Mass General." "That's wonderful, sweetheart. But Kane Ventures focuses on scalable consumer applications rather than specialized B2B technologies." The meeting ended with familiar promises about keeping options open. Empty phrases meaning no investment, no support, no faith. They just turned down the most promising medical AI startup in Silicon Valley to protect their investment in fucking face cream, Christina said afterward. "They turned down me," I corrected. "They would have funded this technology if anyone else developed it." That evening, I received Margaret's follow-up email. "Victoria, I hope you understand our decision wasn't personal. Kane Ventures must make choices based on objective market analysis rather than family relationships. Scarlett's business represents proven demand and scalable growth. Your technology, while impressive, operates in complex regulatory environment with uncertain adoption timelines. Perhaps you should consider licensing to established medical device companies rather than pursuing independent scaling. License my technology rather than building my own business. Advice designed to keep me dependent, small, ultimately unsuccessful." Uncle Samuel's death occurred 2 weeks after Kane Ventures' final rejection. His funeral revealed family members I'd never known existed, tech executives who'd built companies from his infrastructure work. "Samuel was the smartest Kane brother," one CEO told me. "He saw potential in technology that traditional investors couldn't understand. Traditional investors like Kane Ventures. He talked about you constantly. Said you were developing medical AI that could save thousands. He was incredibly proud of your FDA approval. Uncle Samuel had followed my work closely enough to know regulatory milestones my own father barely acknowledged. Maybe Uncle Samuel found ways to invest in revolutionary technology Kane Ventures rejected as too complex. The law office feels like a mausoleum as I sit across from Margaret and James, watching Samuel Richardson shuffle through Uncle Samuel's final documents. The tension is suffocating. 3 days after Margaret handed Scarlett $8 million while telling me to bootstrap. Scarlett lounges with Instagram-perfect composure, probably calculating how inheritance might affect her brand's funding. Before we begin, Richardson announces, Mr. Samuel Kane's estate is considerably more substantial than anticipated. Margaret straightens. More substantial how? Mr. Kane accumulated significant wealth through technology investments and business ventures. His estate is valued at approximately $15 million. Silence could cut glass. Margaret's expression cracks. James looks like someone told him Uncle Samuel lived on Mars. 15 million? From computer programming? Among other ventures, Richardson replies dryly. Mr. Kane was quite successful in cloud infrastructure and early-stage tech investments. Years of family dinners where Uncle Samuel was dismissed as the failure, while he'd been building wealth dwarfing Kane Ventures' annual profits. Let's proceed with bequests, Richardson continues. To my brother James Kane, I leave my 1967 Ford Mustang and vintage watch collection, hoping he finds time to appreciate things built with craftsmanship rather than marketed with sophistication. James blinks rapidly, struggling to process the backhanded comment. To Margaret Kane, I leave my first edition business books, particularly The Innovator's Dilemma, hoping she learns to recognize disruptive technologies before dismissing them as impractical. Margaret's face flushes. Even from beyond the grave, Uncle Samuel calls out her blindness to innovation. To Scarlett Kane, I leave $10,000, and my advice that influence without substance is merely performance. $10,000. After Margaret just gave her $8 million. The message is clear. Uncle Samuel valued substance over social media metrics. Scarlett's composure cracks. 10,000? That's it? To my niece Victoria Kane, who has spent her adult life building technology that saves lives while her family builds businesses that merely generate profit, I leave the remainder of my estate. My heart stops. $15 million minus token bequests. This includes $14 million in liquid assets, my Menlo Park home valued at $800,000, and most significantly, my 47% controlling stake in Synapse Technologies. I've never heard the name, but Richardson's emphasis suggests significance. Mr. Kane's cloud infrastructure company, founded in 2018. Current valuation is approximately $35 million, making Miss Kane's inherited stake worth roughly $16 million. The numbers are staggering, not just money, though $14 million would fund Synergy AI's expansion for decades, but validation. Uncle Samuel built a tech empire while his family mocked his computer nonsense. There's more, Richardson adds. Mr. Kane has provided specific instructions. He hands me a sealed letter marked, "For Victoria, private instructions." Victoria, if you're reading this, my family has finally learned that the failure brother built something worth inheriting. I've followed your work closely. Your Stanford research, FDA approvals, remarkable diagnostic improvements. You're building exactly the technology that can change the world. I've watched your parents dismiss your achievements while celebrating Scarlett's social media success. I understand what it's like to be the family member whose work is never taken seriously. Synapse Technologies provides cloud infrastructure for medical AI platforms. We're positioned perfectly to support Synergy AI's scaling requirements. You now control the company that can accelerate your vision. The liquid assets should fund expansion without requiring investment from people who've never believed in your potential. Build the medical revolution you've envisioned. Prove that saving lives matters more than selling lifestyle products. Your family will finally understand that technology isn't just typing on computers. It's building the future. With pride in your achievements, Uncle Samuel. I look up to find 3 faces staring with expressions ranging from shock to fury. Margaret recovers first. This is ridiculous. Samuel clearly wasn't thinking rationally. Victoria has no experience managing substantial assets. Unlike Scarlett, who's demonstrated such remarkable business acumen. The words slip out before I can stop them. Scarlett has built a multi-million-dollar company. Scarlett built social media following that sells products manufactured by others. Uncle Samuel built technology infrastructure powering half of Silicon Valley's medical AI platforms. The room erupts in arguments about fairness and contested wills. But I'm not listening anymore. I'm understanding that someone in my family finally saw the value of what I'd been building. Richardson clears his throat. Mr. Kane anticipated family disputes. The will includes specific language preventing contests and requires unanimous family consent for modifications. Uncle Samuel made sure his vindication couldn't be overturned. Victoria, James says quietly, perhaps we could discuss redistributing these assets more equitably among family members. I think about 17 years of being treated as unwanted stepdaughter, watching Scarlett receive every advantage while being told to bootstrap my dreams. No, Dad. Uncle Samuel made his decision based on years observing how this family treats innovative technology. He left his estate to the family member who shares his vision. I stand up, letter clutched in trembling hands. Mr. Richardson, when can we begin asset transfer? Immediately, Miss Kane. Mr. Kane's instructions are quite clear and legally uncontestable. Walking out, I feel something I haven't experienced since childhood. Solid warmth of unconditional family support. Uncle Samuel saw my worth when my own father couldn't. Tomorrow, I'll start building the medical AI empire Uncle Samuel knew I could create. Sometimes, justice comes from the family members everyone else underestimated. 6 months after Uncle Samuel's will reading, I stand in Synapse Technologies' renovated headquarters, watching our medical AI platforms process diagnostic images from 43 hospitals across North America. Wall-mounted monitors display real-time data, 99.2% diagnostic accuracy, 31% reduction in false negatives, over 3,000 early cancer detections. Victoria, the Johns Hopkins expansion is ready, Christina announces, now Chief Operations Officer of our combined enterprise. 17 additional centers, 50,000 additional scans monthly. Approve it. What's our waiting list? 800 medical centers across 12 countries. We're scaling as fast as regulatory approvals allow. The numbers would be impossible without Uncle Samuel's inheritance. 14 million funded engineering expansion, clinical acceleration, international regulatory submissions. Synapse's infrastructure let us scale without building data centers from scratch. More importantly, Uncle Samuel's validation gave me confidence to reject offers that would have diminished my vision. You've built something extraordinary, Dr. Patricia Williams tells me during our advisory board meeting. Early detection rates across our network improved 34% since implementing your platform. You're literally saving thousands of lives. Thousands of lives. The metric that matters more than social media followers or lifestyle brand revenue. My phone buzzes with Forbes notification. 25 under 25, healthcare innovators reshaping medicine. My photo leads the feature about diagnostic AI advancement. They're sulking, Christina observes, reading my expression. Your stepmother spent 6 months calling your work theoretical, and now you're on magazine covers. James called yesterday. Asked if I wanted to discuss family healing over dinner. Translation: share your inheritance with people who dismissed your potential for 17 years. The irony is profound. Kane Ventures' total assets are roughly $50 million. Uncle Samuel's bequest plus Synergy AI's valuation now exceeds $65 million. Scarlett's lifestyle brand, despite Margaret's $8 million investment, struggles with declining engagement and increased competition. Influence without substance is indeed merely performance. Scarlett asked to meet for coffee, I tell Christina. Says she wants to rebuild our sisterly relationship. Rebuild the relationship where she got millions while you were told to bootstrap revolutionary medical technology? I agreed to coffee from curiosity about how family dynamics shift when success hierarchies reverse. Victoria, Scarlett says during our Palo Alto meeting, voice carefully humble. I want to apologize for how our family treated your work. We didn't understand the significance. We. As if Scarlett had been innocent bystander rather than active participant. I'm also hoping you might have advice about pivoting Scarco toward more substantive content, maybe wellness technology or health-focused lifestyle products. She wants to rebrand her failing cosmetics business using my medical AI credibility. Scarlett, what made you think your lifestyle brand had more potential than diagnostic technology that saves lives? She shifts uncomfortably. Mom always said social media influence was more scalable than specialized technical work. Did you ever question whether Margaret's judgment might be flawed? She built Kane Ventures into a successful firm. She inherited Kane Ventures and generated below-market returns for 8 years. Uncle Samuel's tech investments outperformed her entire portfolio. Victoria, could we discuss potential collaboration? Your medical credibility could enhance Scarco's wellness positioning. No, I won't lend my research credibility to lifestyle marketing schemes. Our coffee ends with polite promises to stay in touch, but this was Scarlett's last attempt to leverage my success. Margaret and James continue requesting family dinners to discuss healing. Translation: they want access to wealth I built despite their dismissal. But I'm not interested in healing relationships built on conditional love. Uncle Samuel's inheritance taught me that family worth having invests in your dreams during doubt, not just celebrates afterward. Tomorrow brings new hospitals joining our network, new cancer cases caught early, new lives saved through technology Kane Ventures deemed too complex. Margaret was right about one thing. People don't always understand artificial intelligence. But patients understand reduced cancer death rates. Doctors understand improved accuracy. Investors understand revolutionary healthcare technology. Uncle Samuel understood that building something meaningful matters more than building something popular. His inheritance gave me resources to prove that saving lives generates more value than selling lifestyle products. The family failure became the family success. The dismissed stepdaughter became the celebrated entrepreneur. The theoretical research became the practical medical revolution. Sometimes vindication comes from family members everyone else underestimated. Sometimes justice looks like building everything they said was impossible while they watch from the sidelines. My name is Victoria Kane. I'm 25 years old, and I've built technology that saves thousands of lives while generating wealth exceeding my family's investment firm. Margaret gave her daughter $8 million for cosmetics marketing. Uncle Samuel gave me $15 million plus infrastructure to revolutionize diagnostic medicine. Guess which investment generated better returns for humanity?